The movies that time forgot. Welcome back to another episode, another edition of The Movies That Time Forgot, the show where I talk about movies that people just don't know about or just don't remember. Either way, no one talks about them anymore. So today we're going to take a look at an old film called Outland, or as I like to call it, the movie where everyone gets decompressed. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, let's dive right in.
Outland, the ultimate enemy, is still man.
So, Outland is a science fiction action film from 1981, directed by Peter Hyams, who had directed 2010, the year we made Contact, the sequel to the famous 2001: A Space Odyssey. He did Capricorn 1, he did The Presidio, starring Sean Connery. Outland also stars Sean Connery, the late, great Sean Connery, God bless him wherever he is. It also stars Peter Boyle and Francis Sternhagen. It is basically a cop drama in space. It's kind of like Dirty Harry, like Dirty Harry or High Noon actually in space. I'll talk a little bit about that later. So this is a movie I saw when I was a kid. One of my buddies introduced this movie to me and we watched it and he's like, Drew, everyone gets decompressed in this movie. I'm like, what do you mean? What does that mean? It's like everyone's head explodes and everyone blows up. It's great. That's how it was known to us as kids, the movie where everyone gets decompressed. It is about a marshal played by Sean Connery who is transferred to or is stationed at and has been stationed at a mining company facility on Jupiter's third moon called Io. There's this big corporation called Con Am, and they specialize in mining. They're basically a mining company, and they're mining precious minerals, mainly titanium. But there's also a little town, there's a little community. There's bars and nightclubs, and there's offices, and then there's a precinct, a police precinct. And he's basically the new marshal in town. The movie starts with a accidental suicide. This man hallucinates, accidentally kills himself, and then another man does the same thing. All these crazy things are happening with these workers, with these miners. Sean Connery, he thinks that there's something, drug related or something shady going on. He doesn't think that these people just had mental breakdowns. He thinks that there's something else. Sean Connery also, as the marshal, he doesn't really get along with Peter Boyle's character. Peter Boyle from Everybody Loves Raymond. He plays sort of the head of the corporation, or at the least he's the manager of that particular station. Sean Connery is a strict by-the-book cop. There's a scene where this one worker, he starts hallucinating and he starts assaulting this prostitute and he's about to kill her. He's threatening her with a knife. Anyway, they jump in, they kill him, and then Sean Connery takes a sample of his blood and gives it to a doctor. She finds traces of a brand new sort of synthetic narcotic. Basically, it makes people hallucinate, it turns them psychotic, it makes them work like horses, like they work really hard. Sean Connery realizes that there's been shipments of this drug being transferred and delivered and dispensed among the workers. I should have mentioned this earlier, I'm sorry, I'm not very good at that. But there's going to be spoilers for this movie. Sean Connery realizes that, it's one of those classic, goes all the way to the top scenarios. The corporation is behind it all. Peter Boyle is the one who's been authorizing all these narcotics to be transferred to Io. The marshal, Sean Connery, he wants to just bring a stop to this. He wants to shut it all down and stuff. And of course, he has little to no help. The doctor really is his only help. The movie is actually very reminiscent of an old Western called High Noon. And High Noon is a similar scenario where there is this marshal in this small town, and there are these killers or these hitmen that come to town and want to take him out, and he's the only law, and then he's forced to take a stand and deal with it himself. That's basically what happens in Outland. Apparently, I read that Peter Hyams, when he wrote and directed the film, apparently the original idea was for this movie to be a Western. And then after 1979, after the success of Alien, suddenly every movie had to be in space. Like every idea that someone had, whether it was original or reminiscent of something else, it had to suddenly be in space, especially after Star Wars. It's got some good chases, it's got some good action scenes, some good fights, and A lot of good suspense. Okay, so here's the good parts. Here's the good stuff. So the movie where everyone gets decompressed. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, decompression, basically a influx in pressure. You know, a reduction or an increase in pressure. You know, this happens when you go deep into the sea towards the core of the earth, or, you know, up into space. So there's many different levels of decompression, but basically decompression can cause things to, you know, implode or explode. If you're in a scenario where the pressure drops, it could be fatal if it's just sudden, if it's just rapid. But I don't know how accurate or how valid it is, you know, decompression, because movies always exaggerate. You know, movies are never quite accurate, because there's always like a movie version and then there's a real life version. So in the movie version, what I'm referring to is basically when people explode. So in the movies, specifically in Outland, so many people died from explosive decompression, and it is great. So let's do a decompression count. So number one of the miners, the workers at the beginning, he hallucinates. He thinks he's seeing spiders. He uses a torch to cut his suit open. By the way, it's played by a young John Ratzenberger from Cheers. Number two, there's a guy who decides to walk into an airlock, then walk into an elevator without a suit, go down and outside into the moon. Number three, after Marshall O'Neill captures one of the no-goodniks who's dealing with the drugs, they put him in a prison cell. And the prison cell is actually kind of neat. The prison cell is they're in this suit connected to an air tube in this cell where there's no gravity and no atmosphere. Anyway, the marshal leaves him around for a bit, and Marshall wants him to talk because he's got a lot of dirt on people. When he comes back, someone cut his oxygen tube, he decompresses, and all you see is his body floating in the cell with a big red mess. Number four. So two killers, two hitmen come to kill the marshal, and there's a scene where with the one killer, the one hitman is in this hallway outside, and the doctor and the marshal lock him in on both sides, and then the marshal blows up the airlock, blows up the hallway. I swear to God, it never gets old. Number five, the other assassin, the other hitman killer that's after the marshal, he's in the greenhouse. The marshal tricks him into firing his gun at the window, which of course depressurizes the whole greenhouse. The glass shatters and everything gets sucked out, and the killer gets sucked out. And this is actually my favorite one. It's actually my favorite part. It's one of those kind of like if you blink, you'll miss it. If you look really closely and you zoom in, you can see his body get flung outside, out into the atmosphere, and then you see his whole body just explode, and it turns red at first and then it just explodes. And last but not least, so the marshal gets into a fight with, he finds out that his new sergeant, one of his deputies, is actually no good too, and he's working for Peter Boyle, and he tries to kill the marshal. They get into a fight on this sort of weird electric panel, and then Sean Connery, the marshal, pulls his oxygen tube, and then the sergeant falls to his death down the electric panel. Now, unfortunately, you don't actually see him explode, but it's implied because he ruptured his tube. And that is 6. And that's it. 6 decompressions in one movie. It's great. I love it. So, the marshal, he kills the hitman. You know, he saves the day. He blows the whole lid off everything. He punches Peter Boyle in the face. The drug running is brought to an end. You know, everything is stopped. Everyone's going to jail, and the marshal decides he's gonna quit, or he's gonna transfer back to Earth and go be with his wife and son. And it's a happy ending. If there's anything holding the movie back for me, it's that the effects don't hold up really well. You know, they're not the greatest at all. You know, for 1981 even. You know, I don't know if they just didn't have the best effects houses working on it, but they're really, really dated effects. Now, should the movie be remembered or forgotten? I'm gonna say remembered. I like the film. It's different, even though it is very reminiscent of High Noon. You know, I like it when movies take everyday scenarios, you know, real world scenarios, and put them in space. You know, this movie has like a Blade Runner Total Recall kind of vibe to it. It's a better movie than you might think. You know, it's got, like I said, it's got some great death scenes, some really cool death scenes. Even though sometimes the effects don't hold up really well, it's a very entertaining watch. What should I give it out of stars? 5 stars? I don't want to give it a 4, because like I said, it's not the best, but I can't give it like a 2. I can't give it something low, you know, and the movie is really nostalgic for me. So I think I'll give it a 3, you know, kind of like the midway. But I definitely recommend people check it out. Okay, that concludes this episode, this edition of The Movies That Time Forgot. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you leave a comment. Let me know if there's something that you would like for me to watch and check out that you think people just don't remember or just don't know about. Like, subscribe to 3 Wiseman Films, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay guys, see you later. Bye. One more time, one for the road. It never gets old. Oh, never. Okay, see you guys.